Hi, my name is RWalker, and this is my midterm exam presentation on heuristic evaluation. So what is this? Heuristic is a technique which allows users to problem solve based on previous experiences in order to find a sufficient solution for reaching an immediate goal. Note that I said sufficient and not necessarily the best. In terms of software, this is going to be considered a recognized usability principle. And so what are those? There are some examples here which are rule of thumb, educated guess, intuition, guesstimation, common sense, and trial and error. This is kind of figuring it out for yourself, or a good example might be me trying to drive around in San Antonio. Usually I know how to get to where I want to go, but I don't always know the most efficient route. And it might be a little bit of me guessing, maybe a little trial and error. Maybe I've been there before and I have a good sense of direction. So that's my example there. Or we can take a look here at this ladybug. She is trying to get to the bingo. And as you see, she hits kind of all of these little roadblocks on the way and she finally makes it. So she's successfully gotten there. But what heuristics does is it tries to identify all of those roadblocks and get rid of them. So when you do a heuristic evaluation, you'll review a user interface against these known design principles, heuristics, to determine where users may experience difficulties, just like our ladybug. So the way we do this is first have a testing goal and acceptance criteria. Understand what it is that you want to get out of this testing. Ensure that the evaluation is performed from the user's perspective, so you would do the tasks that the user would be performing. Let the evaluators perform their tasks independently. So one, don't stare over their shoulder. Don't give any guidance, just let them try and figure it out on their own. And then also, if you have a team of evaluators, don't let them work together. You want feedback from each individual because you might uncover different things from each person. You'll document the problems and rationale. You can do a checklist, you can do a report on this. You can analyze your results for trends, also severity. So you might want to see what's happening most frequently. You also might want to see what the biggest issue is in terms of, like, if you have a safety product, that might be the first thing that you want to tackle. So, and then you can suggest corrections. Another way to look at this is in this flow chart. So you start with a solution, that's your goal that you want to get out. And there's an initial solution. Now this is a way to get to the end point. It may not be the best way. So you'll evaluate this. Is it the best way? If it's not, you can go try again. If it is, then you have decided that this is the best solution for you. I'm going to focus this presentation on 10 design principles that you would want to look at when you're doing your heuristic evaluation. So let's take a look at these 10 design heuristics. First, we have visibility. This lets the user know what's happening behind the scenes. So for an example of this, I'm going to use the loading screen from a game that I like to play, which is called Neko Atsume, and this is a game about cats. So this loading screen says meow loading, and you can see the process through the footprints as far as how much the game has loaded. The next thing you want to take a look at is matching between the system and real world. So you want to use familiar language and icons. You don't want to use anything that the user is not already really familiar with. So my example here again is from the same game. You can see these icons here. I've got cats, got a little picture of a cat head. Shopping looks like a shopping bag. Camera looks like a camera. So this helps the user to understand the options that they have within this game. The next thing you want is consistency. So use commonly understood language and icons. My examples here are going to be the close button, which is an X. This is commonly used across many computer programs. And then also the settings. It's a little gear wheel. This is pretty standard for settings. The next thing to take a look at is letting the user have some control over the system. If they make a mistake, allow them to go back. So you have this back button. And then the last thing is going to be error prevention. Avoid making a mistake in the first place. So what you can do is show this screen. So if I wanted to exit out of this game, it'll ask me, close this application, and then I can choose yes or no. Next up, we have flexibility. So we want to provide different options to more advanced users. So this is a pretty familiar Windows screen, and it has this advanced settings tab. You can do this with a lot of different programs. You can skip out of a wizard and you can go into doing your own settings. This prevents new users from having to be burdened with too many options, and it allows advanced users to have more options to have more control over their system. The next one is easy error recognition and recovery. So let the users understand that something went wrong and then let them fix it. So here for my example, we got this 404 error. It says, well, shucks, things didn't go, the page doesn't exist. So it gives you the option to go back to the home page. And then provide help. Have a help menu, have documentation within your program. So again, we're going to go back to this game and there's a help menu. I'm going to point out this is a Japanese game. I actually switched the language to Japanese just to take a look at if the icons would maybe be different for some reason in Japanese, and they're not. It's the same icons, everything is the same, except the language is in Japanese. But through the use of the icons, I was actually able to change the look and layout of my cat yard. I got some cats to come here. They gave me gifts. This is the point of the game. They give me gifts. I buy them toys. I put the toys out. They give me gifts for playing with the toys. It's pretty silly, but anyway, it was nice to see that across different languages, especially one that doesn't use the same alphabet that I'm used to, I was still able to play this game just using the icons. Okay, so my last two design heuristics that we're going to take a look at are recognition. We want to reduce burden on the user's memory. So I have some predictive text typing in here. So as I typed in heuristics, it types in heuristic evaluation, 10 tips. It gives me a Google search if I want to do results, and then the 10 usability heuristics that we discussed just now, and then 10 principles. This is pretty much the same link. But it was nice that once I started typing it in, especially if I make a typo, because this is kind of a hard word to spell, it helped me along to do some of the research for this. And then the last one is going to be a minimalist aesthetic. So avoid clutter and confusion. Have a really nice, clean website. A lot of the examples that I looked at suggested Google, but I wanted to pick something different. So I actually went with the website of my company, Heuristic. This is a regulatory body that's based in Germany, but I thought that they had a really nice, clean layout. They have this resource center, and it explains what it is. It's a digital hub for white papers, case studies, and webinars. You can either view them now or you can go to the newsletter. Really nice and clean, and it was super easy to navigate through. This is another picture that I really liked. It has everything all in one. And so you've got visibility of status, which is red. This is a no-go. Using the finger as your pointer, Control Z for your undo option. Consistency and standards. So you've got these ducks, but you've got one that's a different color, one that's facing different. So you can see that this one is maybe different from the other ones. For turning left, it shows you the arrow. That way, if you're one of those people that can't figure out your left from your right, this will show you the direction to go. For error prevention, we've got a way to change things and fix them. Flexibility, I have user A and user B. Aesthetic, I have this beautiful golden ratio swirl here. I've got a life preserver to help users, and I've got help and documentation. So you can see this little fix-it manual here. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of this method. It's quick, it's pretty inexpensive, you can get really early feedback, and you can do this a whole bunch of times throughout your process. This is an iterative thing, so you can do it early, you can do it in the middle. You can figure out the best way to correct these as you go. You can use this by itself, you can use it together with usability testing methodologies. I don't think that this one really is meant to be used on its own. It seems kind of subjective. But you can take this as a basis to do further usability testing to take a look at your issues. Some disadvantages, you have to have somebody who's trained in heuristics to really get bang for your buck out of this type of analysis. So having somebody that's trained to do this, maybe it's hard to find them. Maybe they want to charge you a whole bunch of money. You should probably have more than just one person do this because what I see might not be the same thing that you see. I might totally glance over something that somebody else would think was a big issue. And it might identify a bunch of minor issues and less of the major issues. So you might get a whole bunch of look and feel comments or people not liking the size or placement or location of a button, which might be minor to your design. Your usability testing would probably be a better option to understand some of the major use errors that are going to occur with your system. So again, take heuristics in conjunction with all of these other things, filter that information, distill it down, and get that usability data into your final design so you can use this with all sorts of other usability testing options. And on my last slide, these are the resources that I used to create this presentation. Thank you so much, and please let me know if you have any questions.